Hello and a very warm welcome. Thank you very much indeed for joining us live at the World Retail Congress here in Barcelona. My name is David Roth from WPP, and it's a pleasure to have you watching this broadcast. This broadcast is coming live to you from the World Retail Congress. We're also broadcasting for the very first time live into our metaverse experience, which we've recreated specifically for the World Retail Congress in our History of Retail in 100 Objects metaverse experience. And for those of you who are not watching through that, you can download that app from either the Apple Store or from the Android store as well. And you'll be able to put your MetaQuest glasses on and see this in all of its three-dimensional glory. But if you're not, don't download it now, because we've got a lot of content coming to you live from the World Retail Congress. Well, I'm joined by Divya from our BAV team. Divya, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Divya has literally come off the stage with our colleague Nick Cooper from Landor Fitch to a packed audience where we have launched the WPP BAV most influential brands, and we're here to tell you a little bit about that study and also how you can download it for yourselves, and most importantly use it in helping your clients understand what influential brands are all about, and particularly in the retail environment, some of the analysis of which are the world's most influential retail brands. But first of all, Divya, let's start at the very beginning, as they say. What on earth are influential brands?
Sure. Well, David, thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited to be here in Barcelona at the World Retail Congress. So yes, as he mentioned, we just came off stage. We talked to the audience about influential brands around the world. And what we have found using our BAV data is influential brands are those that drive behavioral commitment, emotional commitment, and give a greater financial growth to the shareholders. It is essentially creating a passion with consumers that other competitors cannot do. So influential brands is a really important concept to understand in order to build your brand and grow a deeper connection with your consumers.
Now the analysis that you've done looked at how being an influential brand is also a driver of generating shareholder value. What did that analysis prove?
Yes. Essentially, what we had done is we had tested a portfolio of the top 25 most influential brands that we found in our study. And together, we had looked over time, specifically the last 5 years, compared it to the NASDAQ, Dow Jones, S&P 500. We actually found that the top 25 influential brands outperformed the market. And because we tested this over 5 years, we saw that it significantly outperformed in both good times and in bad.
Now, influential brands is, I suppose, a top-line term. Underneath influential brands, there are a series of 9 driving factors that create influence. Give us a flavour of the importance of those factors and what some of them are. And by the way, if you're wondering why we keep sharing the microphone, it's not that WPB don't have 2 good microphones, but one of our cables is just broken, so we're down to a shorter cable and 1 microphone for the moment until we find a new cable. So bear with us.
Yes, sharing is caring here at WPP. But yes, absolutely, David, we have 9 dimensions of influence. What we have done using our proprietary data is we've been able to quantify this emotion-driven concept around influence, and we have been able to create these very digestible and relatable levers of influence to basically help brands with their strategy. So these 9 dimensions include innovation, they include purposefulness, they include trust, and essentially these are the levers in order for a brand to figure out if they're influencing, how they're influencing, what the right levers of influence are, and it will provide a framework for clients to essentially understand how they can influence their consumers.
Now, in the report, and we'll give you a QR code and a link where you can download the report now. In that report, you've also looked at who the most influential brands are globally, and then who the most influential retail brands across some of the major geographies. So maybe talk a little bit about those findings.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the big findings, and probably buzzwords that a lot of our clients are using today, is around purposefulness. So one of our dimensions is around purposeful, and we have found that Patagonia as a brand, not so surprisingly, influences highly on this dimension. But we have found that it's influenced many regions. It's actually considered one of the top 30 most influential brands in retail today. So Patagonia is a great example. Just a fun fact: the founder had donated 98% of the company to a nonprofit fighting climate change. So it certainly has redefined kind of what it means to be purposeful and what it means to align with consumer values. Another one was IKEA. IKEA was a top brand globally, and they had done influence through innovation, and this is something that we had seen across regions, but specifically in LATAM and globally, we had another winner called Natura, and this is the parent company to the Body Shop and a few others. But the Body Shop was seen as a very purposeful brand as well.
So, what, I suppose, overall summary would you say that drives influence? Because I think one of the very surprising things, and caused quite a lot of debate in the room, was the fact that it's not now about sort of size and scale. Influence is really important, but just having being the biggest and having the greatest scaling does not imply that you now have influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's definitely a topic to consider. What we have done is we've created these 9 dimensions in order for brands to kind of understand where they stand, what their status is compared to their competitors. It's a framework for clients to understand kind of if they're influencing, how they're influencing, and kind of what the right levers are in order for them to capture the consumers that they want to capture. But just to summarize, I would say that it's extremely important for brands to consider how they influence, because we've seen in our data that it's related to financial metrics, it's related to emotional commitment, it's related to behavioral commitment. So it's really important to kind of explore this and ensure that your brand is also performing well.
Well, Divya, thank you very much indeed. I think we'll, if we can look at the world's most influential brands on the screen now, so you can take a look at that. One of the wonderful things about the World Retail Congress is you bump into people in the corridors, in the halls, and I can see Ian McGarrigle over there. Ian McGarrigle is the chairman of the World Retail Congress. Ian, come on, come.
Thank you, David,
and Divya, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much.
Ian, please come and join us. Ian McGarrigle, chairman of the World Retail Congress. If you can come a little bit closer.
Okay.
We have just a microphone lead.
I've known you a long time.
Cable. Yeah,
fine,
exactly. Yeah. People won't be talking. Okay, Ian, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for joining us here in Barcelona. My gosh, if those of us who have long memories, we came to Barcelona for the very first World Retail Congress all those years ago, when certainly you and I had a lot more hair.
Yeah, it wasn't so grey either. But yeah, 2007, we launched the World Retail Congress here in Barcelona. Not at this venue, but the world seems a very different place than it was then. But it's great to be back in Barcelona, actually. And there's I feel there's a great energy here, actually, this week at the Congress. So it's lots of really interesting sessions, and good to start sort of getting a sense of where the industry is.
This year, Ian, we have some key themes for the Congress. Perhaps you can just explain a little bit about what they are and some of the lessons we've already learned over the course of the last almost full day that we've had, in terms of what lessons that we should all start to take away from that as well.
Yeah. Sure. Well, the Congress theme is Retail Leadership for Extraordinary Times, because as we've been talking to the industry over many months now, there's no denying that we do live in extraordinary, uncertain times. And then underneath that sort of umbrella theme, from all our conversations, we majored on 4 key areas, which we're calling resilient retail. How do retailers respond to these difficult conditions and build resilience? And particularly when the top line isn't growing, but obviously profits are under pressure, where do businesses look to drive the business? Then purposeful retail, which is around ESG, sustainability, diversity, and really how does a retailer and a brand build trust and respond to their core constituencies, which are their employees and obviously their customers. The third one is transformational retail, which is the future is hurtling towards retail businesses at an ever faster speed, and at a time when retailers are looking to make cutbacks and stop doing things, they really can't stop investing in the future. So that's a key area, and retailers talk about the mix of on and offline and how that's changed dramatically, and how really they can place those bets for the future. And one of the big things that's struck me, and probably you, David, how AI is now one of the key driving sort of technologies that retailers are talking about. Sort of metaverse was very much last year's, but AI seems so much more real and practical. And then just the fourth area is around the customer, customer-focused retail, which seems like an obvious thing to restate, but because that's what retailers do. But it's really that sort of laser focus on the customer and where the consumer behaviours are changing to understand how a retailer can serve them better.
Ian, one of the things that really struck me yesterday was a presentation, or I suppose a fireside chat more than a presentation, from LVMH. And, we've been seeing over the course of the last, 2 or 3 years, pandemic, real retail pressure, retailers having to recalibrate what they're doing. And if you look at LVMH and what their specialist retail CEO was saying, business is booming.
Absolutely. I mean, luxury is an extraordinary sector. I mean, Krista Lapuente, who was speaking yesterday, runs what they call their selective retailing division, which includes Sephora, but also DFS, their duty-free business, and Star Cruises, which is the cruise ship. So he was very realistic that the last, 2020, 21 were very tough. Obviously, stores were closed and cruise ships were grounded and planes were grounded, so that was tough. But as you say, what struck me was how that business has bounced back, and across LVMH. But his division is really doing extraordinarily well. And I think he talked about, quite rightly, how Sephora in particular, the brand is so strong, it's so well connected with its consumers. They use social media. They work with a whole raft of brands, and their store staff, employees reflect their customers. There's a big focus on diversity. And they've just opened in the UK, and he openly talked about how it was smashing its budgets. Maybe the budgets weren't challenging enough, but
not, yes, yeah. But it was, I think was it 80 or 800%? I can't remember now. Over.
Might be 300%.
Over budget. But it was quite an extraordinary number. So yeah, maybe they haven't quite set their budgets correctly. Ian, you were in the room when together we launched the most influential retailers. What's your perspective on influence and the importance of that for retailers today?
Well, I think the whole study is really important. It's timely, and I think it's absolutely what retailers need to be focused on, and are focused on. That is really trying to break down understanding their brand, how it connects with their consumers. Going back to our focus on customer-focused retailing, I think that has so many aspects to it that retailers need to understand. And I think how a retailer can build that sense of influence with their consumers is so critically important. It's all about building trust and and the relationships. So I think the study, the report is fascinating, and I think it's great how it breaks down the different constituencies of what does influence mean, how do you build it, how do you achieve it, how do you retain it. I think those are really critical things. I think, and again, we heard a lot about that yesterday, about the importance of brands really understanding their market, their customers, and then people are looking for brands that they trust. It's as simple as that. But
yes, I mean, I don't think we heard a retailer yesterday that didn't mention the importance of brands, the importance of trust within their consumers, the importance of trying to find out now how to have a more sort of emotional rather than just a transactional relationship. So I sort of feel there very much is a sea change going on now post-COVID in terms of what the retail consumer proposition is and how to get closer and closer to your customers. Now, it's sort of day 1.5 at the moment. What's your highlights for this afternoon, Ian? I know in a minute you've got to rush off to chair a session. What are you looking forward to?
Well, we've still got some great breakout sessions about to take place. One on what is the future for department stores, which is always fascinating. It seems to go around as a cyclical topic. But later on, we've got...
paraphrase Mark Twain, I suppose. You know, the future of department stores has long been heralded as non-existent, but they're still there.
But we've got 3 great sessions I'm looking forward to. We've got an interview with Falguni Nayar, who's one of India's leading retailers that started the business only in 2012. It's now one of its leading beauty and fashion omni-channel retailers. So that's great, and great to get a leading figure from India. We've got Michael Murray, the CEO of Frasers Group, which Sports Direct, but obviously the House Fraser Group and many, many other brands now. It's the first time he's spoken on a conference platform, so we're really pleased about that, and that's going to be fascinating to hear what he says. And we end the day with Paul Marchant, the CEO of Primark, which without doubt is one of, actually probably one of the world's most successful value retailers for sure. Still opening stores, no transactional website, and doing really well here in Spain. So, and I think he's very attuned to all of the topics that we're focused on and everything you're looking at in terms of what does influence mean. And so that's going to be a great way to end the day. And then as we close the formal proceedings, we have our International Women in Retailing meeting, where we'll be presenting Louise Greenlees, the Group President of TJX, with the award for Woman of the Year. So, which is a fantastic way and well-deserved way to end the day.
And talking about awards, last night, of course, was the awards for the 3 new inductees for the Retail Hall of Fame. 2 of them are women. And we have done a podcast interview with all 3 of them, and we'll be giving you the details of how you can listen to those a little bit later on. Ian McGarrigle, it's a pleasure. Sorry to have dragged you away. Always a pleasure to speak to you.
My pleasure. Good to see you, David. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Enjoy the afternoon. Okay. Thanks. Bye. Well, thank you very much, Ian. Hopefully Ian will come and join us on another live stream we intend to do for tomorrow as well. But in the meantime, let us now move over to Nick Cooper from Landor Fitch, because Nick also participated in the launch of the BAV Most Influential Brands launch, because one of the key elements of influential and becoming influential clearly is not just your way in which your brand is seen by consumers, but also how your brand is seen internally within the organization and reflected on by your employees. Nick, perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how you see that and the study that you've just completed with one of the retailers who's been working with and associated with the World Retail Congress.
Thank you, David. Well, it's great to be here. Couple of things to start off with. I mean, obviously, we believe brand is really, really important. And brand is not a nice to have, it's a must have, but that's because it really drives business. What we know through BAV is that we have a validated methodology for measuring brand, which has been around for 30 years. And what's really interesting is that employees have almost been the forgotten partner in branding. It's not that nobody ever surveys them, but they don't survey them about brand. So the thing that we've changed is that we've worked out how to conduct a survey with employees where we can measure brand using the BAV framework. Because at Landor & Fitch we believe there is only one brand, but it has different propositions that go to customers, that go to employees, and indeed go to talent. And what this enables us to do is to understand not only how strong brand is, but also how to build it and also how to monetize it as well.
So you can actually put a monetary value to how important, the value of your brand within your employees.
Absolutely, yes, because just in the same way, we know that a strong brand will make consumers buy you more often and make more of them buy you and pay a premium. It works in principle in the same way for employees, that if you have a strong brand for employees, then you're more likely to retain the people you want to retain, and they're more likely to be more productive. That doesn't incidentally mean that they'll necessarily work harder, but they'll either work smarter or be more in tune with what you as an employer are trying to achieve, and that actually, again, has a real financial benefit. The only question is how much, and we've figured out how to answer the question, how much?
Excellent. Well, if you want to find out more about that, send an email to Nick Cooper at Landor and Fitch. Now, as part of the preparations to the World Retail Congress with BAV and Landor and Fitch, we did a pilot study of the research methodology with a convenience store, a global convenience store retailer. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about some of the findings from that.
Yes. Thank you. So what we did was, and this retailer very kindly worked with us to achieve this study. We obviously enacted a primary research survey with their employees to understand views of their brand. What came out was a few things. Firstly, what we set out was we asked them their views on what the ideal retail employer looked like. And what was interesting, that came out as sort of a fair and understanding and supportive employer. What we know is that is, okay, that's great for convenience retail. That may or may not be great for other types of businesses. It was great for convenience retail. What we saw from the study was that our client actually matched that really very closely. And they were seen as very fair, approachable, trustworthy. And we've talked a lot about trust today. What we also saw was that the drivers for employees, what makes them work in retail, and remembering that these tend to be kind of relatively low-paid store colleagues, they are interested in work-life balance, and they are in particular interested in job security. And again, what we've seen from other industries is that, for instance, lack of job security is perhaps taken as par for the course, perhaps in higher paid pursuits. But in lower paid pursuits, well, one of the trade-offs is I want to keep my job, please. And that's quite tricky in retail at the moment. The most interesting thing I think that came from it was that whilst from a perceptual point of view, this client's brand came up very close to the ideal, when we actually apply the BAV framework of the 4 pillars, we find that actually there are some big gaps appearing. So whilst this brand is doing well on knowledge, esteem, and quite well on relevance, it's actually doing really poorly on differentiation. Now, you would not pick that up from an engagement survey or an employee satisfaction survey. What the magic of the BAV framework allows us to do is to say, well, this is where you're doing well, and to be fair, they are doing well in a number of areas, but it identifies and pinpoints where they can do better and how they can grow in the future.
Well, Nick, thank you very much indeed. Also, thank you very much, Didier. Thanks very much indeed for joining this live stream from the World Retail Congress in Barcelona. We'll be back tomorrow doing another live stream with some other guests who are on the Congress floor here in Barcelona. If you want to get a copy of the report, which we definitely suggest that you do, please scan this QR code, take a picture of it here, and then you'll be able to download the report now directly, and in a couple of hours' time we'll also put on that page a link for you to listen to the podcasts of the new inductees of the Retail Hall of Fame that I did a little bit earlier in the month. But from me, David Roth, here at the World Retail Congress for the launch of the WPP BAV, a most influential brand study 2023. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.